This is WCTV, Thomasville, Tallahassee, Valdosta. Powered by WCTV.tv. Eyewitness News at 11 starts now.
Happening now, protests over the death of George Floyd continuing around the country tonight. You're looking at some video from Atlanta. Keisha Lance Bottoms issuing a 9 p.m. curfew for the city after last night's protest turned violent and destructive. Here in Tallahassee, a mostly peaceful day of protest turning chaotic after a truck drives into a crowd of people. Those protests picking back up earlier this evening, people gathering in front of the governor's mansion on North Adams Street. You're looking at video posted to a protester's Instagram. It shows a person lying on the ground surrounded by law enforcement. Tonight, FDLE tells WCTV that man is Drew Bennett from Tallahassee. He was arrested and is now facing charges of criminal mischief and trespassing after they say he jumped the fence. Thanks for joining us tonight at 11, everybody. I'm Abby Walton. Jacob Murphey is on assignment covering today's SpaceX launch. We'll hear from him in just a bit. But first, those protests in Tallahassee starting around 11 this morning on the campus of FSU. Police shutting down roads as protesters move to the state capitol building with a final stop at the Tallahassee Police Department. Our Brandon Spencer is on the ground with them all day today. He joins us now live in the newsroom tonight. And Brandon, we've been talking all day back and forth, and you were telling me that many people were saying to you today all their goal was they just wanted to make sure that their voices were heard.
Yeah, for sure, Abby. They've traveled all over the state capitol today saying just that. They're searching for anyone to hear their cries.
No peace, no justice, no peace, no justice, no peace.
From the Westcott Fountain at FSU to the state capitol to TPD and then finally the governor's mansion. Protesters wanted their voices to ring through the city.
We're in a moment where we're crying out for help, but this is no time to be sad. We're angry. We're not going to wait for help to come. We're going to do it. We're going to be heard, and this is what I did.
You know, a college student from Haiti organized Saturday's protest and explains why she's so disappointed and angry.
That's where my anger started. It started because my mom in Haiti gave me hope that this country was going to be the land of the free. But I wonder, free to who?
For Aries Williams, he says his motivation is years in the making.
The tipping point came when they killed Emmett Till, Trayvon Martin, Ahmaud Arbery, George Floyd, all of them. It's been a tipping point.
Other protesters tell me they just want to be heard.
And we're watching Tallahassee. It's something we've been saying a lot today. And we want Tallahassee to know that we are being heard and you will listen.
You cannot silence us, no matter how much you try, no matter how many police officers you put on us. We will not be silenced.
Looking for change and willing to take the steps to make it.
Well, I want to see bills. I want to see legislation passed. I want to see us moving it towards the right direction. I want our laws to be changed. I want our police districts to understand that there is a problem.
Our voice must be heard. We must vote. We must walk. We must scream. And we are allowed to be angry.
Together, they believe they can make a difference.
You can definitely tell we are connected and we are for each other. And the biggest thing about it is we are united, and that's not going to happen.
A moment that stood out to me today was at the Tallahassee Police Department. Protesters took flowers and placed them in a pot while saying a name that was lost over the years due to police brutality. They say they wanted to cherish their names with their protests. Reporting in the newsroom, Brandon Spencer, WCTV, Eyewitness News.
All right, thanks for being our boots on the ground today, Brandon. We really appreciate it. New tonight, Leon County officials imposing a curfew. It started at 11 this evening. It runs through 6 tomorrow morning. The curfew will also be in place tomorrow night into Monday morning from 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. County officials kept saying, quote, while we respect the right of individuals to peacefully protest, our first obligation is to ensure the safety of our community. They're asking people to remain at home unless they're going to and from work, seeking medical care, or walking their pet. The curfew is part of a local state of emergency declared by Leon County. You're looking at another view from today's protest in Tallahassee. We are receiving so many videos and angles of this incident into the WCTV news. Here's what we know tonight. This video posted by Twitter, by a protester on Twitter, shows a truck driving through part of the crowd. This afternoon, our Monica Casey talked with an eyewitness and has more information about TPD's response.
The Tallahassee Police Department has responded to this incident on social media, saying the driver was immediately detained and there were no serious injuries. The post went on to say TPD supports the, quote, nonviolent gathering of protesters and will uphold their constitutional right to do so. This video was posted to Twitter by a person at the protest. It shows the truck driving into the crowd. I spoke with one man who saw it happen from a building above.
I look out just in time to see them rev the engine like crazy. And so they were more or less surrounded and straight through, and they just kept going, and people were, it was like a wave in the stadium where people just like go back and forth.
We also spoke with a protester who was on the ground during the incident.
I was in the front of the truck with 3 other people. We had an elderly lady who had to get an EMT. Luckily, I was able to get out of the way, but I am pursuing charges against him and that vehicle.
Tallahassee Mayor John Daly responding to the violence on social media, writing, quote, "The peaceful protesters have my unwavering support, and I unequivocally condemn any violence toward protesters." TPD is asking anyone with video of the incident to contact the department to assist with the investigation. In Tallahassee, Monica Casey, WCTV Eyewitness News.
And in that Facebook post that Monica is referencing, Tallahassee police saying once the investigation is complete, all that information will be handed over to the state attorney. Now, during our early evening newscast, I was able to talk with Tallahassee Mayor John Daly via phone about today's protest, including the incident with the truck.
If you are protesting, protest peacefully, and we will ensure your safety. But we will not tolerate violence. That is not the appropriate way to get your message across in Tallahassee.
And across state lines in Georgia, dozens gathering in downtown Valdosta to protest. Those in attendance say they're not just remembering George Floyd, but also Kendrick Johnson. Johnson was a student at Lowndes High School. He was found dead inside a rolled-up gym mat in 2013. Today, the family and the community are still looking for answers, saying they want justice for Johnson and Floyd.
I hope more people come and stand with us to let them know that enough is enough. Like, we're not going to take it sit down anymore.
Today's protest in Valdosta remained peaceful. And protests happening all across the country today. Unlike those in our area, many of those turning violent and destructive. As Michael George reports, some of the demonstrations are prompting officials to mandate curfews while urging protesters to stay peaceful.
From coast to coast, protesters flooded America's streets to protest the death of George Floyd.
We literally want to be heard. We don't want to meet violence with violence. That's not what my people do.
In Los Angeles, vandals set fire to police cars, sprayed graffiti, and smashed windows, prompting the mayor to mandate a curfew.
I'm asking all of Los Angeles to take a deep breath and to step back.
In Seattle, a protester torched a police vehicle, while others marched down the street. People threw objects at the state capitol building in Columbia, South Carolina.
You got plenty of black and brown kids, hundreds of people out here shouting and telling you, we dying in the street.
Workers boarded up storefronts in Kansas City in anticipation of possible looting. And demonstrators clashed with police in Washington, D.C. for the second straight day. President Trump urged Americans to keep their protests peaceful.
And I stand before you in firm opposition to anyone exploiting this tragedy to loot, rob, attack, and menace.
Protesters hit the streets of Minneapolis again, while volunteers started to clean their Minneapolis neighborhood under the watchful eye of armed guardsmen.
This is our neighborhood, the city. It's a beautiful city. I love the city of Minneapolis. And we all need to come together. This isn't helping.
The National Guard rolled into the city after the mayor activated a full mobilization for the first time since World War II. Michael George, CBS News, Minneapolis.
At least 24 cities are under some sort of curfew tonight. All right, let's take a look at weather and take a look outside our window now over the I-10 flyover of the WCTV studios. A calm night out there weather-wise. Hannah, we kind of had a little bit of everything today. We saw some rain earlier in the morning, some clouds, and then the sun came out and started to heat things up a bit.